When we try to understand students' behavior, whether they're learning a new math skill or yelling, we should look at the context in which the behavior occurs. We should be trying to identify the antecedent, A, the behavior, B, and the consequences, C. This is called the ABC model of learning, or a three-term contingency. Identifying the ABCs of a behavior allows us to analyze the behavior in order to understand the function or the purpose of the behavior. The systematic process of collecting and analyzing this information is called a functional behavior assessment, or FBA. A more detailed description of the FBA process is provided in a different module. An antecedent is something that happens immediately before the behavior. Sometimes an antecedent is also called the trigger for the behavior. More importantly, it is not something the student does. It's something in the classroom environment that occurs immediately before the behavior. The antecedent can be something someone said or did. It could also be something the student sees. It could be a loud noise or a sensation. A consequence is something that immediately follows the behavior. Some people think of a consequence as a negative thing, but that is incorrect. A consequence is simply something that happens after the behavior. In fact, consequences can be positive or negative. In some cases, we are also interested in determining the setting event for the problem behavior. A setting event is the event that makes the problem behavior more likely to occur or less likely to occur. A setting event can also occur prior to the behavior, such as a bad interaction with a peer or having to wait in line for a drink between classes. A setting event can also be a state influencing the student, such as a student who hasn't had enough sleep or is sick or has lost a pet. A setting event could also include something related to the environment, such as a noisy classroom. Let's look into Demi's classroom for an example. The ABC model can be applied to any type of behavior, positive or negative. Demi is in Ms. Brantley's small math group as she sits at her desk completing her worksheet. When Ms. Brantley asks everyone to line up, Demi stops working and goes to line up. Ms. Brantley gives Demi and some other students high fives. In this example, we are looking at a target behavior that is positive. Demi lines up with the other students. The antecedent was when Ms. Brantley asked everyone to line up, because this happened immediately before the target behavior. When Demi lined up, the consequence was Ms. Brantley's high five. Let's put it all together. The antecedent is Ms. Brantley asking everyone to line up. The behavior is Demi lining up. The consequence is Ms. Brantley's high five. The setting event is that Demi is in Ms. Brantley's small math group, and Demi is receiving attention during this time. This setting event, having Ms. Brantley's attention during math, makes the antecedent less likely to trigger the problem behavior. Now let's take a look at Demi's classroom again for a different example. Demi is sitting at her desk working on an activity while Ms. Brantley works with a small math group. Ms. Brantley asks everyone to line up, and Demi is aggressive toward the peer sitting next to her. Ms. Brantley goes to Demi and talks to her about how she needs to keep her hands to herself and apologize to the peer. This is more likely to occur immediately after small math group when Demi is not in the teacher's group. Let's examine this occurrence of Demi's aggressive behavior. The antecedent to Demi's aggression was Ms. Brantley asking everyone to line up. The consequence was Ms. Brantley talking to Demi and having her apologize to her peer. The setting event was when Ms. Brantley did not have Demi in her group. Demi then received less attention. To help us determine the reason the behavior occurs, we would look for patterns in the ABCs. Both of these scenarios with Demi demonstrate the ABCs of behavior. The antecedents were the same. Ms. Brantley asked everyone to line up. In the first scenario, Demi's behavior of lining up was followed by high fives. If Demi is reinforced by the attention, her lining up will most likely increase. In the second scenario, Demi's behavior of aggression was followed by a short conversation with Ms. Brantley. If the function or purpose of her behavior is to gain attention, the fact that Ms. Brantley talked to Demi provides reinforcement, and Demi's aggression will most likely increase over time. Let's review what we've learned in this section. The ABCs of behavior stand for antecedent, behavior, and consequence. We can use this model of learning to analyze a behavior across multiple occurrences and develop a hypothesis of why it occurs.